Chief Researcher Dr. Roy Casimir outlined the requirements. There is still a huge amount to learn about the fascinating structures that grow in molecular space. As our stock of specimens is running low, we require fresh
Fuel scooping.
tissue samples from living
Fuel scoop disengaged.
organisms to continue our experimentation program. I appreciate that our facility is located a considerable distance from the core systems, but we're willing to offer generous reimbursement for those who make the journey. Pilots are requested to extract any type of tissue sample, including pod mesoglea, from any type of seed pod. These are to be delivered to Jacques Station in the Colonia system.
Frameshift drive charging.
Thargoids wreak havoc in nebulas. Starports in the Coalsack and Witchhead nebulas have been damaged during full-scale Thargoid incursions. An appeal by Aegis for anti-Xeno support.
4, 3, 2, 1.
What led to a concerted response from the galactic community. However, the Thargoid forces proved to be overwhelming and have attacked systems within the nebulas, with the loss of thousands of lives. Admiral Aidan Tanner, Chief Military Liaison of Aegis, broadcast this message. Despite the heroic efforts of many pilots, the alien
Fuel scooping. Fuel
ships
scoop
have resisted being
disengaged.
driven from the Witchhead Nebula. Aegis's military capability and manpower are both severely limited as a result of curtailed funding from the Empire and the Federation. We have no choice but to rely on independent pilots and anti-Xeno squadrons as the first line of defense against the Thargoid threat. Core Dynamics purchases Lacon Spaceways. The shipbuilding company Lacon Spaceways has officially accepted a bid for ownership from Federal Corporation Core Dynamics. The proposal from Core Dynamics CEO Jupiter Rochester was ratified following a majority vote by Lacon's board of directors, many of whom were recently appointed following resignations demanded by shareholders. Trent Delaney, the new chairperson, confirmed the merger in a public statement. We are overjoyed that Lacon Spaceways will join the Core Dynamics family, thereby overturning the mistakes of the previous management and setting us on course for a bright future. The transfer of ownership will take another 2 months to formalize. In that time, it will be business as usual for the manufacture and sale of our ships. The Federal Commerce Authority has approved the corporate takeover. However, the Independent Commission for Market Equality is still investigating reports of irregularities. The Council of Admirals has expressed concerns that a military supplier for the Alliance Defense Force should be owned by a federal defense contractor. Admiral Rachel Ziegler informed the Assembly, regardless of our cordial relationship with the Federation, security issues will inevitably arise if the Alliance chieftain and her sister ships are constructed by a foreign power. The ADF is already woefully underfunded, and this places extra strain on our ability to defend our interests. Countdown to Alliance election begins. The Alliance has entered a period of political campaigning prior to the election of a new Prime Minister. The appointment of a head of government takes place every 6 years, with the forthcoming vote scheduled for the 25th of February 3307. Unlike the Federation, there are no political parties in the Alliance. The Assembly is comprised of councillors who each represent the ruling faction of a member system. Electoral votes will be cast by these individuals rather than the public, but councillors tend to abide by the majority views of their constituencies. Edmund Mahone is the current Prime Minister, having been in office since 3301, and is campaigning for re-election. If successful, he will be the first to serve more than one term. There are several rivals challenging Mahone, but the greatest support is for Councillor Nakato Kane of Tionisla. She has become a rallying point for discontent among the Assembly, speaking out against the Alliance's increasing dependence upon corporations and other superpowers. At an emergency debate regarding the current wave of Thargoid attacks, Councillor Kane stated, "Can we be surprised that the Thargoid race is launching fresh assaults against us when we brazenly invade their territories? Our obsession with meta-alloys has turned us into the aggressor. This is not the same alliance that I pledged to serve. It's time for a new direction." Utopia invites superpowers to Galactic Summit. Simguru Pranav Antal, leader of the Utopia Commune, has proposed hosting a diplomatic conference for the governments of all three superpowers. The intention is to provide a neutral location to discuss key issues.
Mission. Objective complete. Frameshift drive charging. Scooping. Fuel scoop disengaged. Frameshift drive charging. Fuel scoop disengaged. Mission critical message.
Such as the renewed Thargoid attacks, the Marlinist refugee crisis, and hostilities between the Empire and the Federation. Details have been sent to the Alliance Assembly, Federal Congress, and Imperial Senate. Pranav Antal has also broadcast his invitation across all media channels. It is not Utopia's tradition to become involved with politics, but recent events are of great concern to us all. Interstellar war, terrorism, alien incursion and economic collapse are the new four dark horsemen that threaten humanity's future. We therefore offer to host a galactic summit where the Alliance, Empire and Federation may debate these problems peacefully. My sincere hope is that the heads of state grasp this opportunity to resolve their differences and create solutions that benefit their peoples. Utopia is an independent society with a focus on using highly advanced technology to increase quality of life. Should this galactic summit take place, it would be the first diplomatic meeting of all three superpower governments. Thargoids attack Coalsack and Witchhead nebulas. Pilots Federation alert. Large numbers of Thargoid vessels are swarming through multiple inhabited systems, leading to urgent calls for assistance. In what appears to be a coordinated strike, Thargoid scouts and interceptors have appeared throughout the Coalsack and Witchhead nebulas. Local security ships have engaged them in combat, but report being overwhelmed. The Alliance has a considerable presence in these regions, with 4 starports recently constructed in the Coalsack Nebula. But the Alliance Defense Force has not been able to mobilize in time to prevent some systems from becoming infested with Thargoids. Admiral Aidan Tanner, Chief Military Liaison for Aegis, made this announcement. This is a resurgence of Thargoid activity on a scale that we have not witnessed for a long time. Unfortunately, drastic reductions in funding and resources mean that Aegis is unable to provide adequate defensive measures. We urgently request support from independent pilots and anti-Xeno squadrons. It is critical that we prevent the Thargoids from dominating these nebulas and wiping out many thousands of people. Lakon Spaceways faces financial collapse. Economic instability has caused the value of shares in Lakon Spaceways to drop to unprecedented lows, placing the company's future in doubt. A hostile takeover bid by Federal Corporation Core Dynamics has raised concerns in the Alliance over the loss of a major defense contractor. The Independent Commission for Market Equality has also reported irregularities in the recent transfer of share ownership, which may lead to criminal investigations. As a result, although Lakon Spaceways continues to manufacture and sell ships, its lack of reserves and a loss of confidence among investors may lead to insolvency and dissolution. Trent Delaney, the newly appointed chairperson of Lakon's board of directors, announced. Financial mismanagement and a litany of poor business decisions have led to this situation. Rest assured that once formal negotiations with our new parent company are complete, Lakon's stock will rise to new heights. According to federal business analysts, there are indications of displeasure among Core Dynamics senior directors regarding this takeover. An anonymous source from within the corporation told Vox Galactica, the Lakon merger is entirely Jupiter Rochester's project. Frankly, it's sheer greed. Our income has soared recently with new commissions from the Navy, but Rochester's grabbing hands are always reaching for something. He runs the departments that are loyal to him like they're his personal kingdom. Coalsack Nebula terraforming project stalls. Sirius Atmospherics has delivered an update on its experiments to terraform ammonia worlds in the Coalsack Nebula. The subsidiary of Sirius Corporation is working closely with the Alliance to exploit the nebula's resources and pursue scientific investigation, including terraforming terrestrial planets with ammonia-based atmospheres. Project Director Dr. Maximilian North gave this progress report. Preliminary efforts at ecosphere conversion have delivered promising results, but our new techniques are not as effective as the simulations based on exploration data suggested. We are still a long way from fully transforming these worlds into habitable environments. Independent journalist Flint Firemaker Lafos commented on this via the Rewired network. Does anyone really believe Sirius is there for the terraforming? Of course they can't magically turn ammonia hellholes into paradise planets overnight. I know a cover story when I smell one. I wouldn't be surprised if they're deliberately trying to provoke the Thargoids for some reason, maybe to capture some specimens. Where there's Xenos, there's credits. The Alliance has corroborated Dr. North's report, but also confirmed an increase in Sirius Corporation personnel and equipment arriving in the Coalsack Nebula. Alliance shelters new Marlinist refugees. Tens of thousands of Marlinist refugees have claimed sanctuary in Alliance space after emigrating from the Empire to avoid political persecution. In recent weeks, there has been a steady stream of ex-Imperial citizens arriving at Alliance systems, mostly traveling up.
Alpha Lima, Papa. Landing permission will be granted upon request. Welcome to this Federal Starport, Commander. Request approved. Assigned to landing pad 3-9er.
Small private vessels or in the holds of cargo ships. The humanitarian aid organization Safeguard Interstellar reported that accommodation and basic necessities are being provided. Alliance Interpol is running stringent security checks for evidence that members of the NMLA terrorist group are present. The initial wave of refugees, which fled to the Federation,
Undetected.
are currently preparing to populate a number of independent colonies established by the
Maintain current heading until further instruction.
Sirius Corporation. However, these systems cannot yet provide harbor to the continuing exodus of Marlinists from the Empire. Prime Minister Edmund Mahone publicly welcomed the refugees, but there has been some dissent in the Alliance Assembly. Councillor Nakato Kane.
Docking assist enabled. Approach is clear.
Who's expected?
Landing gear deployed.
Mahone's main rival in next year's election received widespread support for her views. Naturally, we must provide these poor people with emergency aid, but there are practical limits to our resources. It is
Landing successful. Engines disengaged.
not our responsibility to solve the Empire's domestic issues, and we have seen the Federation pay the price for sheltering terrorists. The Alliance cannot end up as the dumping ground for other superpowers' problems. Investors take control of Lacon Spaceways. A coalition of Lacon Spaceways shareholders has voted to replace several members of the company's board of directors with new management. At an emergency general meeting,
Incoming message.
investors put forward a resolution to remove selected directors in accordance with Lacon's Articles of Association. The majority vote was in favor of this resolution. New appointees to the board have already stated that the rejected bid by federal shipbuilder Core Dynamics will be reappraised. Jupiter Rochester, the corporation's CEO, has welcomed the opportunity for fresh discussions. Chairperson Naomi Landseer, who is one of the directors being replaced, told Vox Galactica, "It's no coincidence that the board members being voted out are the same ones who are against Core Dynamics owning the company. I am convinced that Rochester's people are bribing or threatening our shareholders to make sure this hostile takeover goes through." Lacon Spaceways is currently offering a 30% discount on sales of ASP Scout S, Diamondback Scout S, Keelback S, Type 7 transporters and Type 10 defenders. Core Dynamics has applied a 30% markdown to sales of the Eagle Mark II and the Vulture, with a 20% discount for Federal assault ships, Federal dropships, and Federal gunships. Terrorism respite as Marlinists prepare for new homes. As independent colonies are set up for Marlinist refugees, there has been a lull in terrorist strikes from the Neo-Marlinist Liberation Army. In recent months, the paramilitary group launched multiple attacks across the empire. Starports and administrative buildings were bombed and dozens of individuals assassinated, including Prince Harold and more distant members of the Duval family. However, the number of incidents has fallen drastically following successful operations by the Imperial Internal Security Service. After the Federal Security Service identified NMLA members aboard the emigrants' megaships, these were transferred to us for interrogation. We obtained information that enabled us to shut down many terrorist cells, although there is evidence that the NMLA's network remains widespread. In related news, hundreds of thousands of Marlinist refugees are preparing to occupy new colony systems established by the Sirius Corporation. Mass transportation will take place early next year, overseen by Safeguard Interstellar. The Empire, Federation and Sirius Gov have all agreed that the settlements will remain fully independent. The refugee population has already begun to determine its future social structure, based on the principles of Marlinism. A transitional parliament has been formed by community leaders such as Dr. Jenna Fairfax, Aaron White and Amrita Ross. Democratic elections for a representative government will take place once the Marlinist colonies are operational. Rackham's Peak Outpost marks galactic zenith. Pilots Federation alert. Multi-billionaire Zachary Rackham's new orbital outpost at the galactic zenith is now operational. Rackham's Peak is situated in the HIP 58832 system, one of the highest practical locations above the galactic plane. Its construction was funded by Rackham Capital Investments, in conjunction with Universal Cartographics and other scientific research companies. Traders have been welcomed, although the increased distances between stars at the galaxy's fringes mean that vessels with a high jump range are recommended. Rackham's Peak is currently offering high prices for deliveries of beer, liquor, wine, Bast Snake Gin, Centauri Mega Gin, Chateau de Gin, Irene and Pearl Whiskey, Eurasian Goose Beer, Parma Silver Sea Rum, Indie Bourbon, Conga Ale, Lavian Brandy, Listian Evil Juice, Saxon Wine, Fruitis Cream and Wathiello Coup Froth. Mr. Rackham officiated at the outpost's opening ceremony, which was followed by an extravagant press party for media representatives and attending celebrities. He gave this statement: "The top of the galaxy is now open for business. Rackham's Peak is a free port where everyone is welcome, a place where explorers and entrepreneurs can enjoy drinks while overlooking the entire Milky Way. Aim high, commanders." In related news, Rackham Capital Investments has agreed to pay a repairs bill from Universal Cartographics for the outpost sensor array control systems, which suffered fluid-related damage during the party. Commodities delivered to build Marlinist colonies. Pilots Federation alert. Sirius Corporation has successfully gathered materials to construct new independent settlements for Marlinist emigrants. Both the Empire and the Federation accepted the proposal from Sirius Corporation to establish colonies for the political refugees, who have been the cause of increased tension between the superpowers. CEO Li Yongrui made this announcement. As always, the galactic community's immense contribution has made this achievement possible. The shipments of atmospheric processors, auto-fabricators, structural regulators and water purifiers will be used to construct new outposts and settlements in 8 uninhabited systems. The Omega Merchant Command is now offering rewards at Ellis Gateway in the BD Plus 051146 system for all pilots who delivered commodities. Aaron White, a community leader among the refugees, commented on Vox Galactica, "I suppose we should be grateful that these colonies give us a chance of survival. But none of us wanted to set up our own kingdoms, only to remove the kings. And one day, we will." The Marlinist population is expected to be transferred from federal space to the new colonies in early 3307. Engineers boost ship module upgrading. Pilots Federation alert. The effectiveness of engineers upgrading for ship modules will be boosted until the 7th of January 3307. During this time, engineered weapons and modules will receive increased augmentation for the same amount of materials. This will apply to every workshop in Alliance, Imperial, Federal and Independent space. Laurie Jameson, an engineer based in the Shinrata Desra system, provided details to Vox Galactica on how this collaboration came about. After the Eurybia incident, some of us contacted Liz Ryder and offered our support. It was horrifying how her expertise had been abused by the NMLA, leaving her unfairly maligned as a terrorist supporter. There were concerns that her situation might reflect badly on engineers in general. We soon established communication links between every workshop, and agreed to offer a universal boost to upgrades. Hopefully this will remind pilots how much we value their custom, and that we remain a trustworthy resource. Mel Brandon, one of 4 engineers in the Colonia region, commented, "It's about time that we all started talking to each other. Our services are valuable to the whole galaxy. We deserve better protection. Maybe we have to start protecting ourselves." Core Dynamics funds takeover with ship discounts. Pilots Federation alert. Prices for several Core Dynamics vessels have been temporarily reduced as part of an attempt to purchase Lakon Spaceways. The Shipbuilding Corporation has applied a 30% discount to sales of the Eagle Mark II and the Vulture. There is also a 20% discount on sales of Federal assault ships, Federal dropships and Federal gunships, although the Federal Navy rank requirements for each vessel continue to apply. The reduced prices are expected to last until the 30th of December 3306. Core Dynamics recently made a proposal to acquire rival company Lakon Spaceways, which rejected the offer, then applied markdowns to its own ships to increase short-term profits. The Alliance Tribune's business reporter Irfan Karim speculated on these developments. CEO Jupiter Rochester remains tight-lipped on the reasons for these discounts, but it seems likely that he is raising funds for a more aggressive bid. Rumors are circulating of Lakon investors being bribed to sell their shares, or coerced into demanding that the board of directors accepts ownership by Core Dynamics. Many industry analysts are convinced that a hostile takeover of Lakon Spaceways is underway. If successful, we could see vessels that are commonly associated with the Alliance, such as the Chieftain and
Retracted.
Landing coupler disengaged. You are clear for egress.
Mission critical message.
Type 10 Defender, manufactured by a federal corporation in the future. Date set for trial of Fleet Admiral Vincent. Fleet Admiral Lucas Vincent of the Federal Navy will stand trial on the 20th.
Shift drive charging.
You are clear to resume own navigation. Have a safe flight, Commander.
4, 3, 2, 1. Engage. Fuel scooping. Fuel scoop disengaged. Incoming message.
Access to docking facilities requires flight control authorization. Please submit requests before entering the docking. Traffic flow within the docking bay. We request that pilots avoid blocking access to documents. To welcome all commanders to this facility. Please ensure you complete all docking procedures within the allocated time.
Mission critical message.
Docking coupler disengaged. Your way is cleared for departure.
Landing gear retracted.
This is please proceed to dock on your side.
disengaged. Frame shift drive charging. Four, three, two. Incoming mission critical message. Fuel scooping. Fuel scoop disengaged. Mission objective complete. Frame shift drive charging. Ready to engage. 4, 3, 2, 1. Engage. Frame shift drive charging. Four, 2, 1. Engage. Fuel scooping. Frame shift drive charging. Four, 3, 1. Engage. Fuel scoop disengaged.
Alpha, Lima, Papa, it's good to have you with us. Welcome to the station, Commander. Docking request approved. Please make your way to landing pad 10. You're approved for automated docking sequence.
Landing gear deployed.
Pilots, please show consideration for fellow visitors. Slow down and maintain a reasonable distance from other ships inside this dock.
Incoming mission
Landing
protocol
complete.
message.
Ground crew dispatched. Enjoy your stay with us.
In order to keep bay traffic flowing smoothly, please follow standard operating procedures. Request docking permission before entering the starport.
Incoming message.
We would like to remind all commanders to avoid blocking access to docking pads during arrival and departure. If you're unable to complete docking, you need to exit the bay and resubmit a docking request.